And we are live.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to Gateway School Board of Directors regular board meeting via Zoom. Today's Tuesday, May 19th, 2020. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. The image of the flag is on your screens. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic,
Which is
one nation, liberty, justice for all. Do we have a roll call of those present, Bonnie?
Yes, hold on, please. Mr. Caleri,
Here.
Mrs. Cerrucci,
Here.
Mrs. Delaney,
Here.
Mr. Gallagher,
Here.
Mr. Gottman,
Here.
Mr. McIntyre, Mr. McIntyre,
He messaged here.
Muted.
Been here.
Mr. Ritter,
Here.
Mrs. Warning,
Here.
Mr. Williams.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, I'd just like to be noted for the record that at 6:30, the board had an executive session meeting this evening to discuss personnel issues and contract negotiations. Are there any residents who've signed up or communicated with you at this time, Bonnie, to comment?
No, no one has done that at this time.
Okay, if anybody is watching on their screen, Bonnie has put up how to provide and make questions this evening to the board. All right, let's move on to Section A, minutes of previous meetings. All the Gateway School Board of Directors approve the minutes of the following previously held meetings: study session April 14th and regular board meeting April 21st.
So moved. Second.
Moved by Scotty Williams, second by Mr. Paul Caleri. Comments? Mr. Ritter, he's our minute expert.
Bonnie does a great job with the minutes.
Thank you, John.
Okay,
Mrs. Cerrucci,
aye.
Mrs. Delaney,
Aye.
Mr. Gallagher,
Aye.
Mr. Gottman,
Aye.
Mr. McIntyre,
He typed aye.
Mr. Ritter,
Aye.
Mrs. Warning,
Aye.
Mr. Williams,
Aye.
Mr. Caleri.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, Section B, bills and financial reports and budget transfers. Mr. Schott, you're up.
Thank you, Mr. Sergi. Section B, resolved that the Gateway Board of School Directors approve sections B1, list of bills, and B2, monthly financial statements, as listed in Section B at the Tuesday, May 19th, 2020 regular board meeting. And Section B1, list of bills for the month of May 2020. The additional Section B1, list of bills for the month of 2020 added after study session. And our two Section B2 monthly financial statements, one for the month of March and the second one for the month of April 2020.
So moved.
Is there a second? Motion by Mr. Williams, second by Mr. Caleri. Are there any questions for Mr. Schott, particularly on B1 added after study session? Okay, seeing none. Roll call.
Mrs. Delaney. Mrs. Delaney,
Aye. I forgot to have my mic on. Okay.
Mr. Gallagher.
Aye.
Mr. Gottman,
Aye.
Mr. McIntyre,
Aye.
Mr. Ritter,
Aye.
Mrs. Warning,
Aye.
Mr. Williams,
Aye.
Mr. Caleri,
Aye.
Mrs. Cerrucci.
Aye. Okay, motion carries. Section C, we do not have any items previously tabled, so we'll move on to Section D, personnel agenda. Mrs. Crump.
Thank you, Ms. Cerrucci. Resolved that the Gateway Board of School Directors accepts and approves the personnel agenda items 1 through 4 as listed in Section D for the regular meeting of Tuesday, May 19th, 2020. Under transfers for the collective bargaining agreement, we have 4 names listed. Under employment, we're recommending employment for 2 substitute or resignation terminations for 2 substitute custodians and employment of a substitute food service worker. We also added, since the special meeting last week, extended school year, the names for teachers who will be working extended school year, and also for the early literacy program.
So moved.
Second.
Are there any questions for Mrs. Crump? Motion by Mr. Williams and second by Mr. Clary. Again, Bonnie.
I got that, thank you.
Any questions? Roll call.
Mr. Gallagher,
Aye.
Mr. Gottman,
Aye.
Mr. McIntyre. Did he type aye?
Not yet.
Yeah, I haven't seen anything pop up.
Mr. McIntyre,
Are you there?
I'm sorry, I'm having some technical difficulties. Aye.
Mr. Ritter,
Aye.
Mrs. Warning,
Aye.
Mr. Williams,
Aye.
Mr. Clary,
Aye.
Mrs. Cerrucci,
Aye.
Mrs. Delaney.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, motion carries. We'll move on to section F.
Yeah.
We do not have any section E, conferences and conventions, so we'll move on to section F, administrative report.
Dr. Rossi?
Sure. Thank you, Dr. Short. We have item number 1, final approval of the following item that was placed on 60-day public display beginning March 17th, and it's a financial literacy textbook.
Item number 2, we have final approval of the new courses for the 2020-2021 school year. And item number 3, we have final approval of the policies as listed.
Will you give Bonnie a minute to get section F on the screen? I'm seeing section A.
I'm sorry. Yeah, thank you.
That's okay, we'll give you a minute.
Yeah.
There we go.
Item number 4, it's resolved that the Gateway Board of School Directors approves and authorizes the special education plan for the period of July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2023, as depicted in Exhibit AA.
Item number 5, adopt and approve the advertisement and the required placement on public display via the budget form PDE-2028, the proposed final general fund budget for the 2021 fiscal year in the amount of $78,026,000. It is further resolved, the 2021 proposed final general fund budget shall be considered for final adoption at the board's regular meeting to be held on Tuesday, June 30th, 2020. Again, that's a date change. The final public hearing for the proposed final general fund budget will take place on Tuesday, June 2nd, 2020 at 6 p.m. via Zoom meeting, similar to the current board meeting format. And also want to just add right there that this Thursday, May 21st, 2020 at 6 p.m., we will also be having a Budget and Finance Committee meeting via the Zoom platform as well. Note, the above budget amount will continue to change and be updated as applicable prior to the final public hearing, as well as prior to the June study session and the June regular board meetings. The budget is currently required to be balanced through the utilization of unassigned fund balance to eliminate a deficit amount of $3,578,000, a real estate tax millage increase, additional expenditure reductions, and/or the utilization of unassigned fund balance may all be required in some combination to balance the final budget. The adoption and placement on public display of the district's proposed final general fund budget is a requirement of Special Session Act 1 of 2006. The approval of the above resolution does not set a final budget amount and does not set a final real estate tax millage rate for the 2021 fiscal year. Item number 6, reversal of the committed fund balance to unassigned fund balance in the general fund in the total amount of $2,340,514.12 as depicted below. Item number 7, approve the continuation of the service agreement with CTI Water Treatment Solutions for required heating and cooling, water treatment testing, and inspection services in the total amount of $4,800 for the 2021 fiscal year as depicted in Exhibit A. Item number 8, approve the continued appointment of Richard M. Affeltar, Jr., DMD, as a district school dentist for the 2021 fiscal year at the rate of $5 per student dental examination. Item number 9, approve in accordance with Section 404 of the Pennsylvania Public School Code the continued appointment of Paul Schott, business manager as district school board treasurer for a 1-year period commencing on July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021. Item number 10, approve in accordance with Section 621 of the Pennsylvania School Code the continued designation of PNC Bank Miracle Mile Office as the district's depository of funds for a 1-year period from July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021. Item number 11, and approve in accordance with Section 440.1 of the Pennsylvania Public School Code the continued investment in district funds with one or more of the following financial institutions: PNC Bank, the Pennsylvania School District Liquid Asset Fund, and any other appropriate FDIC-insured financial institution not specifically listed above, in accordance with the collateralization requirements established by the Pennsylvania School Code during the period from July 1st, 2020 through June 30th, 2021. Item number 12, approve the 2021 fiscal year operating and administrative budgets for the Forbes Road Career and Technology Center in the amounts as depicted below and also as depicted in Exhibit B. Item number 13, approve the renewals and premium payments for the following applicable district insurance coverage policies for the 2021 fiscal year as depicted in Exhibit C. Item number 14, approval of Title I, Title II, Title III, and Title IV federal funds final allocation amounts for the 1920 fiscal year as depicted below. Item number 15, award the milk and dairy vendor product bid for the milk services and related food items to Turner Dairy Farms, Inc. for the district's food service department during the 2021 fiscal year as depicted in Exhibit D. Item number 16, award the bread and bakery vendor product bid for the bread services and the related bakery food items to Nichols Bakery for the district's food service department during the 2021 fiscal year as depicted in Exhibit E. Item number 17, approve the extension of the agreement for professional services with Eads Group for engineering services in a retainer amount of $150 per month, $1,800 total for 1 year fiscal year, and other engineering services required beyond the retainer services at the average hourly rates in effect at the time of the services incurred, including applicable reimbursement expenses during the 2021 fiscal year, and as depicted in Exhibit F. Item number 18, approve the educational service agreement with the Allegheny Intermediate Unit Number 3 for the purchase of special education services as applicable during the 2021 fiscal year as depicted in Exhibit G. Item number 19, approve the district's purchases and payments for the following department items during the 1920 fiscal year. Some of these items were mentioned previously, some were detailed in the current evening, as well as a couple additional items that were added after study session. I will go through and just briefly touch upon each item. Under the technology department, for Apple Inc., 30 Apple iPads with Apple Pencils, $14,640. 45 Apple TVs, $6,705. Agile Repair, 30 Apple iPad cases with protection plans, $2,070. CDWG, 8 Epson Power Light projectors, $3,720. 5 projector replacement bulbs, $454.55. 4 Promethean projector lamps, $380. Under the maintenance department, additional smaller critical capital repair projects. First one, the contractor still to be determined, waiting for 2 remaining quotes. This is for the gutter drain at the front curb of the high school. The not to exceed amount, $16,500. CE Davis Contracting through the TIPS program. 1 roof replacement on the maintenance department building in the amount of $22,000. And a new item, 1 portion of roof replacement at CSC, 50% to be paid by Garland, who has the current warranty on the roof, not to exceed amount $30,000. Not to exceed amount for that particular project was based on the unknown as far as some of the cutouts they'll have to be for some of the wet areas under the current roof. Mr. Brown and I had estimated $30,000 for that. Under athletic department, as I mentioned previously, we had a number of uniforms that were going to be purchased during the 1920 fiscal year as opposed to the 2021 fiscal year. Those are depicted below, specifically Riddell, All-American, 15 varsity helmets, $6,055.50. 10 sets of shoulder pads, $2,530. 6 sets of shoulder pads, $460.68. Under Century Sports, 5 varsity helmets, $1,868.90. 70 equipment bags, $4,830. 40 jerseys and shorts for boys lacrosse, $5,888. 90 warm-ups for boys and girls track and cross country, $7,402.50. VSN Sports, 30 Nike practice uniforms, $1,437.15. Huddle, 1 year online video editing for high school basketball and football, $9,200. MF Athletic, 8 UCS International Adjustable Hurdles, girls track, $2,244. Varsity Spirit Fashion, 40 sets of cheerleader uniforms, $10,414. I'd just like to note that all of those uniforms, this is the scheduled rotation for the 2021 fiscal year. Under the Elementary Education Department purchases, under Zaner Blozer, 4 sets of materials, reading program materials for Super Kids for the 4 elementary schools as depicted. Under Pearson, approximately 115 Envision math textbooks in the approximate amount of $3,044.05. Vendor 95% group, primary intervention lesson library for the elementary buildings in the amount of $7,400. And under secondary education department purchases, Wenger, 40 music stands for the high school, $2,024. Grand total of all these items, $179,143.25. And again, the above items will be purchased and paid for during the 1920 fiscal year instead of during the 2021 fiscal year to reduce expenditures in the 2021 fiscal year general fund budget. Additional purchases may be presented for board consideration and approval at the June board meetings. Item number 20 is acceptance of district donations received during the 1920 fiscal year. Specifically, the first donation from BNY Mellon Community Partnership, $500 check through Jody Price, who is an employee of BNY Mellon. This is supports student activities at Ramsey Elementary School. And the second donor, BNY Mellon Community Partnership, also a $500 check, again through Jody Price, employee of BNY Mellon, supports student activities in Mosside Middle School. Third donation, Chick-fil-A/ADDO Institute, $300 check, Marcy Klinger and Don Nicolazzo, Student Leader Academy at Gateway High School. And the final donation, Friends of Flight 93 Memorial, $3,439.24 check, secured through Joy Mattis, grade 6 field trip to Flight 93 Memorial in Mosside Middle School.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
Sure, this is John. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we have an election coming up on the exact same day that the final public hearing for the proposed final general fund budget meeting will take place. That's June 2nd at 6 p.m. via a Zoom meeting. So I'm wondering, it might be good if Mr. Schott would assemble a little navigation text so that people could go out a few days before, download that document, read it, and then provide an email address where they can submit their questions ahead of time so that even if they're not able to actually join the meeting, their question can be read by Bonnie as we have that meeting. So that would be the location of the document and then an email address whereby they could easily get in touch with Mr. Schott.
I can work with Mr. Brown to try to make that happen.
Honestly, I'm hoping the legislature pushes back our deadline and we don't have to rush and have these meetings, but we won't know that for another couple weeks. I have one question on the section of the equipment that we're buying. I know it's a rotation, but 70 equipment bags for $48.30. Is that really necessary right now?
All these items were brought forward by Mr. Hall. He analyzed items that would be appropriate to be purchased and also that we would be able to move to the current items. So yeah, he had made all these various selections.
Anybody on the athletic committee have any insight to how often we replace equipment bags and we give every bag to every player? 70 bags? Is that for the players?
No, those bags are used.
No?
Hear me? Those bags are used to carry their uniforms, helmets, cleats, everything to all the games.
Okay.
They put them in the equipment truck, and it's not like they're just put in nicely. They're thrown in. And what is it? I think 5 years the rotation is, and they're due to be replaced. And I did talk to Dawn Hall. All like the cheerleading equipment will be moved down to the junior high. So they're still usable, but they are a little overused. So they're still going to be using those for the lower grades.
Okay, thanks for that, Val.
Just
Anyone else?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Scott.
I'm just trying to wrap my head around everything that's going on. I know it's a normal procedure to begin to make purchases in the current year's budget for the next year's budget. My question on that, however, is since we haven't approved the 2021 budget, and these items would all be listed in the 2021 budget, by approving these, we're also approving those expenditures in a budget that we haven't approved yet.
That's actually incorrect. These will not be in the 2021 budget. The approval was to purchase them right now out of the 1920 budget, out of unexpended funds.
Right, that's what I'm saying. If we don't approve this, they would be in the 2021 budget, correct?
Yes, they would potentially be still in the budget. So yeah, what we're trying to do is to try to provide some additional budgetary relief for items that we know that we need for next year. So, and this is very similar to what we did going into the current 1920 year. We pulled a number of items out of 1920 and purchased them in 1819 as well.
Right, I'm not opposed to it. I just wanted to make sure that I was wrapping my head around all the details.
So all these items that we're talking about weren't on our study session agenda.
I had referenced them in total because I got some of them a little bit late. Like, for instance, I mentioned the total amount for the various uniforms. I just hadn't had the opportunity to detail them out. So,
I mean, there's not a harm if people have questions on these to table it till June, is there?
that will make it very difficult to make those purchases. Particularly one of the things we're going to find, even though we've tried to position our June 30th meeting for the last day of the month, it's going to be very difficult to try to initiate a purchase order because June 30th is the last day we can generate a purchase order. So there's definitely going to be a timing issue with it. So if there are some additional items that we feel that we may need to bring forward, we would want to try to do those as potentially as an action item on the 9th.
I understand what Scott's saying. Like, we don't even know if we're having a football season when we're spending thousands of dollars on football equipment for next year. I pray that we have a football season next year. I really do. Does anybody else want to chime in on this?
I do just want to make note that I think the athletic equipment that we're looking at is $2,000 less than what you had mentioned last month. So for however that helps, it's $2,000 less than I anticipated for tonight.
There was actually on part of the reason why there was a little bit of difference in the total I mentioned last month was for the uniforms. The cheerleader uniforms came in a little bit cheaper. There was an adjustment on those. So we did reflect that in the detail.
I'm just going to interrupt too. You're looking at prices as what he has now. If you do not go by these prices, those prices could go up when they are needed. That's another thing to keep in mind.
Most certainly.
Are these being purchased through co-stars or anything like that?
When applicable, yes. There's lots of different programs. Matter of fact, the one program that's even listed is TIPS. That's where we're going to be purchasing the roofs. But yeah, we use quite a few purchasing groups out there, and we're able to take advantage of those savings that come from numbers of governmental entities coming together to make various purchases.
Yeah. Fortunately, I understand the roofing part. Unfortunately, the athletic gear, maybe for the future reference, this can be, maybe Coach Hall can, walk us through this a little more. It's just, and I'm not opposed to it, believe me, but I'm seeing like 15 helmets at about $400 a piece, and then 5 helmets at about $300 a piece, and just, the difference in the shoulder pads, just, making sure we understand that we're getting the best equipment at the best price too. Not doubting anything, just would like to understand it. That's all. And also the safest equipment as well.
Yeah, I spoke to Don Hall also. And
I spoke with Don Hall also. The helmets are something we replace every year because they have a shelf life on them and are only good for so many years. And that's why we only see like 15 there instead of 35. We try to rotate them so we don't take a big hit at one time. And the shoulder pads and the helmets alike are not the same for high school and middle school. That's where you see a little bit of the.
Oh, is that what that? Okay. Well, that helps.
And you also see that they use the helmets, they recondition them to the best they can do. But as Dr. Short said, you need to make sure that they're safe also.
Yeah, back in my day, you just got a helmet and sometimes a dog chewed the ear pad out of one and you just put some rubber in there and you were in good shape.
Oh,
They had helmets when you played football?
One time. No, that's cool. No, I'm not, it's just thank you. Help me understand a little bit. I'm all for it.
Any other sections anyone wants to discuss?
question on the wall that you have at the critical.
Yep.
Exactly.
Val, you blinked out a little bit there.
Okay, the gutter drain at the high school,
Yes.
is that the wall that we're talking about? Where is the wall?
I think you're talking about, that was the wall that was approved last month by the auditorium.
Was an action item, okay. Now, the gutter drain, where is that draining to?
Unfortunately,
Mr. Brown is on, isn't he?
I'm not sure if Mr. Brown's on to be able to answer that question.
Yes, I'm on here.
Oh, great.
Yep.
Jump on in.
That drain is in front of the curb, in front of the high school, from the bridge to the front door. It drains into the storm system.
Okay.
Bless you.
Where, does that have anything to do with the concrete and that breaking up by the front of the school?
I'm not quite sure where you mean.
Let's see, to explain it. The sidewalks, does it affect the sidewalks at all?
No, it is actually in the street up against the curb.
Okay.
It's deteriorated and crumbled.
Okay.
Yeah, it's long past due.
Okay.
That's the one on the school side underneath the bridge?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. Trying to figure out which one it was. Thanks.
And for historical purposes, just so that the board understands this, 15 years ago, whenever that crosswalk was installed, the road had to be shaved down to allow buses and trucks to go underneath. It wasn't tall enough. So in doing so, the drain had to be moved down as well.
22 years ago.
Was it 22 years ago?
I have a question.
Go ahead.
On number 9, is that the only applicant we had?
Hang on one second. I just see what you're talking about. As far as I know.
No takers on that one.
Thank you, just curious.
Big section. Are there any other questions? Are these Apple iPads going to help us with our 1-to-1 ratio?
The ones on this will not. This is for the high school art program.
Okay.
Are the Apple TVs just replacing TVs that we currently have to make everything sync up with all the iPads?
Apple TVs are misleading. They're set-top boxes that will let iPads or MacBook computers connect to teachers' projectors or TVs in the classroom. So a teacher can basically project while they walk around the room with the students. it actually does not display anything. You still need a projector or a TV to show it.
Oh, I did not know that. So that's just to add more to the classrooms that don't have them then?
Yeah, some of the rooms don't have them, but a lot of them are just being replaced. We have an older generation of Apple TVs that they've been working, but they're starting to be less and less reliable because as Apple is updating the newer iPads, they stopped updating those older Apple TVs. So we're getting to a point where we're having difficulties just connecting them.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Anyone else? Okay.
We got a roll call?
No, let's do this, Bonnie. Can we do, looking at the section F, can you do approval section F 1 to 18? And then do 19 on its own, please.
We're going to include number 20 on that as well.
Oops, what's 20?
Donations.
Donations.
Yeah, just do 19 on its own.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second.
20. Yeah, I need
Okay.
a motion and a second to approve items 1 to 18 and 20, excluding number 19.
So moved.
Is there a
Second.
second? I have a motion and a second by, I don't know who.
Scott
I
motion.
make a motion.
I thought we already had a motion on this.
No, sir, we did not.
That was for
Oh,
the
yeah,
whole
we did a
thing.
discussion. Yeah, I want to break it out though, so I need another new motion to break it out, John.
Right, so I make a motion to break it out.
Second.
Okay.
Okay, roll call.
And that was Susan, correct?
Yes, it was.
Okay. Okay, roll call would be Mr. Gottman,
This is all for everything but the
Equipment.
equipment, yeah. Everything but the
Except for
equipment, then
number
I'll say yes.
this is everything except for the equipment. Okay.
Yeah, aye.
Oh, the technology's in 19 too, so.
Yes. Mr. McIntyre,
Yes on items 1 through 18 and item number 20.
Mr. Ritter,
Aye.
Mrs. Warning,
Aye on everything except 5.
number 5. Mr. Williams,
Aye.
Mr. Caleri,
Aye.
Mrs. Cerrucci,
Aye.
Mrs. Delaney,
Aye.
Mr. Gallagher.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
All right, can I have a motion and a second to approve item 19, which is approval, purchase, and payments for various departments?
So moved.
John
Second.
Motion by Mr. Caleri, second by Mr. Ritter. Any more discussion on 19?
Bonnie, can you scroll down to 19 for me? I lost my paper.
I'm coming to it. There. 19 is a long resolution, so.
Yeah, 19's still long.
All right, go
It
ahead.
has- So it has technology.
Got
It
it.
has
All
the
right. I just
drain.
wanted to make sure that I had remembered everything. Okay.
And here's the total, right?
Yes. Okay, thank you.
Roll call on that.
Yeah, go ahead, Bonnie, I'm sorry.
Mr. McIntyre,
Yes on all items within 19 with the exception of the athletic department purchases.
no. Mr. Ritter,
Aye.
Mrs. Warning,
Aye.
Mr. Williams,
Aye.
Mr. Caleri,
Yes, except for the football equipment.
okay. Mrs. Cerrucci,
Aye.
Mrs. Delaney,
Aye.
Mr. Gallagher,
Aye, with exception of the athletic equipment.
and Mr. Gottman.
Aye, with the exception of the athletic equipment.
Motion still carries.
Yes, still carries.
Well, wait, just quick question. Since those were just added to this agenda, does that
It needs a
require the
supermajority
supermajority?
vote. That's correct.
I thought that wasn't for administrative resolutions. We go through this every time this happens.
No, ma'am, I promise you, it's for any administrative resolution that requires any kind of purchasing over, like, I think it was like $100 or something like
Yeah,
that.
that was changed. Rick's right. That was changed after we passed the original resolution that just dealt with board members. Then
Correct.
I think Brian added a all-inclusive situation. So yes, it's caught.
So that vote just now required a supermajority to pass.
Well, then it failed for the athletic department equipment. So you're going to have him revise that and bring that back to the June study session, or have him come to the meeting and explain why he needs it now versus not at all, or now versus later, or have him sharpen his pencil a little bit.
That's the best idea. Have them come.
Can you do that,
Can we
Dr.
then-
Short?
We can do that.
All
Will
right.
that be an action item then?
My son's locked out. Hang on.
Well, we could do one of two things. We could still include it within the regular budget. Have Mr. Hall explain it, meaning in the 2020-21 budget to vote on. But I will meet with Mr. Schott and then provide the board with an update on which direction we move forward with.
What's the concern about it? I don't understand why there's a concern about it. He sharpened his pencil and got the things that we would need.
Well, I think the concern is that it was just added. It wasn't on last week for discussion, and we're facing, multi-millions of cuts, and we're spending money on athletic equipment. And I think it's just due diligence by the board to want to make sure that we're spending the money wisely when we're considering tax increases and cutting of programs and cutting of, all kind of things. And then we're passing, purchase of sporting goods. And people always say that, we overspend on sports. And I think we just owe it to double look at the numbers. If we come back in June and everybody says these are good purchases, we need them, and so be it. But I don't think anybody likes when we get surprised at board meetings on major purchases. So that's my
I think another factor, at least for me, is that we're not even sure if we're going to have fall sports at this point. So until that's kind of at least not most, if that gets confirmed, I think that might change this purchase. But I think that's a factor you have to consider.
No, I think it's just good for the public to know, and also for Don Hall to know where we're coming from.
And
Yeah, I just,
do think that,
well, you guys kind of hit the nail on the head. I mean, it's just, these are tough times coming up, guys. I mean, this is, obviously I voted against that, and that wasn't taken lightly. And it's not a slight versus athletics. I'm very, very pro-athletic athletes in school. This was just, I think we need to do just a little bit of due diligence. That's all. I mean, that was a pretty big number.
This is John. I have a quick question to the athletic committee. Is there any chance that the football team might want to practice in the summer? And if so, do they sometimes use helmets?
No, sir. They are not allowed to use any pads of any kind until a certain date, and that is in the fall.
Very good. Thank you.
I think when the public looks like this and sees thousands and thousands of dollars spent on sporting equipment, they just deserve to understand the rationale behind the purchase. That's all.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm not against the safety at all. I mean, I want our athletes to be safe as possible. But as everyone said, we're in a financial crisis. And these just, came to us, we got to do our due diligence. And if we have a football season or any fall sports, awesome, then we can work on guineas. But if we don't have one, then, it's something that we could probably wait the following year to actually get some use out of them.
Correct. And I know these, I'll elaborate a little bit. And Scott, I understood exactly what you're saying. A lot of this equipment does have a shelf life. Having said that, though, just because it's that pieces of equipment's turn to be replaced, doesn't necessarily mean it was worn, it's worn out. And I think these are the things we have to look at. Just because I'm looking at it, of the 15, the first one on top, the Speed Flex varsity helmets, do all of those truly need to be replaced, or is it just that's their turn in the rotation? So I know somebody mentioned sharpening the pencil. That's something I'd like to look at too. I mean, it's kind of like what you do at home. Just because it's old, maybe it hasn't been used a lot or whatever, and this is a very unique time where nobody has a good answer. And again, it's just a big number. I think that we need to look at it real quick again.
If there's no more questions, then we can move on to the last section.
And I think we could also add, and Paul, Scott, Mr. Hall came in with his budget nearly $100,000 under what was the previous year. Is that correct?
I don't have well, hang on one second. I do have the number in front of me. Bear with me for
So the
1 second.
public's aware that, Don was doing his job with this upcoming budget.
Actually, this budget, well, as it sits, the proposed 2021 proposed final is 390,000. The actual original current 1920 budget is at 353,000. However, the current budget is well underspent for the fiscal year, which was one of the main reasons why we had wanted to make the decision to move these expenditures up into the current 1920 fiscal year to take advantage of some of that under expended amounts in that particular department. And again, some of those under expended amounts in the form of not paying some of the referees for spring sports season, transportation for a spring sports season. So again, taking advantage of those items to be able to purchase things that were required in the subsequent year.
Paul, you noted the purchase order time frame. If
Yes.
this would be an action item at the study session, would that be enough time to initiate the purchase order?
Most certainly. Yeah, I would definitely recommend what I would do with the board's permission when I prepare resolutions for June. I would take this section for the athletic department purchases and list that as an action item for Tuesday, June 9th.
Okay, great. Have Coach Hall come to the meeting June 9th, put it on the agenda, and have a second look at this, please.
Will do.
And let's move on to section G. Resolutions presented by board members. Mrs. Warning, you're up.
Yes, resolved that the Gateway School Board directors approve and authorize the following item is listed in section G at today's meeting. If any section, clause, provision, or portion of the resolution for section G shall be held invalid or unconstitutional by the court of jurisdiction, and such decision shall not affect any other section, clause, whatever. Okay, approval to compensate the 2019-2020 junior varsity cheerleading coaches Caitlin Good and Kayla Brash. Varsity cheerleaders following the resignation of the varsity cheer coach as of October 26, 2019. District to compensate Kayla Good in the amount of $630 and Kayla Brash in the amount of $447 for covering both the JV and varsity cheerleading squads. Note, Caitlin and Kayla co-coached the JV and freshman squads. 11 girls. From October 26, 2019, they picked up an additional 21 girls from the varsity squad for a total of 32 girls for the football season and 30 girls for the basketball season. They head at football playoff games, those dates being November 1st, November 15th, 23rd, and 29th. Both the JV and varsity squads were in attendance. Both Caitlin and Kayla co-head coached at the JV and varsity games the 2018-2020 basketball season. There was a total of 11 junior varsity games, those dates being December 4th, 10th, 16th, January 3rd, 10th, 16th, 23rd, 31st, and February 7th, 8th, and 10th. 14 varsity games, 9 home games, and 5 away games. The varsity played December 10th, 12th, 13th, 17th, January 3rd, 7th, 10th, 17th, 21st, 23rd, 31st, February 7th, 8th, and 10th. And both girls took both the cheerleading squads to boys varsity on February 17th and the girls varsity February 18th and 22nd. In addition, they held a varsity mini camp on November 16th, 2019, and a JV mini camp for the elementary schools on January 25th, 2020. And lastly, they had a varsity cheer clinic with the School of the Deaf on November 8th, 2019.
Second.
Was Val the one that made the motion, Rick?
Yeah, Val made the motion. I said second.
All right, is there discussion, please? Questions for Val? Okay, seeing none, we can do roll call.
Mr. Ritter,
Aye.
Mrs. Warning,
Aye.
Mr. Williams,
Aye.
Mr. Caleri,
Aye.
Mrs. Cerrucci,
Aye.
Mrs. Delaney,
Aye.
Mr. Gallagher,
Aye.
Mr. Gottman,
Aye.
Mr. McIntyre.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Okay, great. Mr. Dice, I have a question for you. We need to go back for a moment for the record on the vote we just had on section 19
Okay.
for section F. Some of the board members voted no on athletic department, and Mr. Caleri voted no on football purchases. Do we need a clarification on that? Does that affect the?
It makes sense to clarify it, so why don't you ask Mr. Caleri to clarify it?
Well, they
I'm
all
not
need.
saying nothing. Yeah, I meant for the athletic equipment. In total, athletic department purchases.
All right, and Mr. Gallagher,
Same. Athletic
Gottman?
purchases.
Same, athletic.
Mr. McIntyre?
That is correct.
Okay, Mrs. Isha, let the record show that they're all no's on the section entitled athletic department.
I apologize for the confusion.
No problem. Now Bonnie's probably typing frivolously, and I'm going to ask her if there were anybody who has contacted her to provide any comments.
I have no one has contacted me at this time.
All right, let me just check this chat tool, make sure I'm not seeing any chats. Not seeing any chats either. So with that, we can move to reports, and if anything comes in, I'm sure Bonnie will let us know. Let's start with the superintendent's report. Dr. Short.
Thank you, Mr. Cerrucci. As I mentioned last week, information has been released. Board member Scott Gallagher had sent me an article from the Pittsburgh Tribune Review. Ellen Carr wrote and apparently had interviewed Mr. Stevens about the graduation commencement ceremony, which will be held at the Macy's backstage parking lot at the Monroeville Mall. If you want to reference the information in the article, please do so. But this has been in the works for the last several weeks. It really accomplishes two things. We were holding off as a district, hoping that the restrictions would be lifted to the effect that we would have a packed house as we typically do in our Gateway High School Stadium, Pete Marino Stadium. But unfortunately, we weren't able to do this based on the restrictions that the Governor Wolf has let us have with the yellow phase. So essentially, by moving it to the mall parking lot, We're able to have a drive-in type theater setting. It allows for individual family members, friends to park facing the Macy's backstage lot area. We will have a large projection screen that has been utilized by the Pittsburgh Penguins for their playoff games at Consol Energy Center outside. This will allow all the individuals, family members to view the ceremony in the comfort of their vehicle, practicing social distancing, while also being able to listen to it on an FM channel that will be coordinated through the efforts of the company providing the screen. With that, our seniors will be able to gather for one final time, recognizing the hardship that they've been under the last several months with the loss of prom, senior awards, musical, etc. They will board buses, 15 to 20 in a bus, practicing social distancing while wearing a mask on the bus. Have a police escort to the mall. At that time, when we're ready to commence issuing of diplomas, they will depart the bus, get in line 10 feet apart from one another, receive their diploma, while also having information on the screen pertaining to their senior picture, accomplishments, and future plans. Decorations that we typically have on the field as far as the GHS 2020, that will be brought in, as well as the stage that allows our students to walk up. Diploma covers will be stacked. They will receive that, face the crowd, and then exit back onto the bus. So we are excited to move forward with this. It's been a lot of planning, and we want to ensure that all of our parents, students, and the community understands exactly what's going on. You will receive information, specific information as far as the students and families here within the next couple of days from Principal Stevens. Also, every year the Pittsburgh Business Times has a periodical about Western Pennsylvania schools, and I am excited to say that this year Gateway had moved up into the overachieving rank of number 8 in southwestern Western Pennsylvania. Just to give our community an idea of those ahead of us: Fox Chapel at number 2, Mount Lebanon at number 7, and Gateway at number 8, and South Fayette at number 9.
Wow.
So
Way to go.
needless to say that shows the work that our teachers and students are doing. I happen to collect these periodicals just for historical purposes, and I could reference back in 2011, Gateway School District was number 76.
Woo.
So here we are in 2020, ranked number 8. So that shows you the work that all of us have done. So it's just exciting to see the rewards pay off. That's all I have for tonight.
Thank you for some good news. Dr. Rossi,
Nothing at this time. Thank you.
Dr. Chaky,
I have nothing, thank you.
Mrs. Baumgart,
Nothing at this time. Thank you.
Mrs. Crump.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Rucci. As you know, Allegheny Valley went into the yellow zone last week, and starting tomorrow, we will be transitioning all of our administrators, secretaries, and central administration back into the buildings. We will be following all CDC guidelines and remain closed to the public during this time. So we just want to welcome back our staff and ensure their safety.
Thank you very much. I know you did a lot of work preparing for this day, so thank you. We can move on to board reports then. How about Scotty Williams? You get to go first tonight.
Nothing at this time. Thank you.
All right. How about Paul Caleri?
Nothing at this time, thank you.
Mrs. Delaney?
Well, as a matter of fact, I have a couple of things. First,
Good.
I wanted to thank Dr. Short just for enlightening us on Gateway's position and how they have moved, because that makes all of us proud as residents and as board members, of course, and for all of our educators. But I did want to highlight two things. Many of you, and some of you may be too young to have known, Lorraine Hansberry wrote the play and it was on Broadway that was called A Raisin in the Sun. for those that may and may not. She was born today, May 19th, but in 1930. She died of pancreatic cancer at the age of 34. She was very young, but she contributed a lot having her play on Broadway. And also, for those that may be aware, and I know that John Ritter had shared some things with me, and it's along the lines of mental health, but this is Mental Health Month. And with all that's going on, we need to keep that in mind, because some people are going to have a very difficult time just coping with the situations that are occurring around COVID-19. And in line with that, Mr. Solomon Carter Fuller, even though he was born in 1872, an African-American, he was one of the pioneers as an African-American psychiatrist at that time. And he also worked very hard even in 1901 with others with the Alzheimer's disease. So I just wanted to highlight those two things.
Thank you, Mrs. Delaney. Scott Gallagher.
Just briefly, with some others from this board and some teachers and administrators, we were able to pass out cap and gowns and signs to our graduates today. And I must say that in those brief interactions, yeah, this is an exceptional graduating class, as previous graduating classes from Gateway have been. And I think that whenever we're facing things like this, as Susan and John had highlighted with the difficulties of what we're facing, I think that in these moments it can bring out the worst in individuals and the best. And what I've seen through Gateway, through the administration, teachers, students, parents, is bringing out the best. So this although it's a difficult time, it's a great year to be a part of Gateway.
Thank you. Very well said. Mr. McIntyre.
Yeah, I was just going to be briefly touch on the distribution of the cap and gowns and the yard signs today. Mrs. Cerrucci and I kind of teamed up, and I think we went to like 11 or 12 different seniors and passed out, all the caps and gowns and everything. And I just want to thank all the other volunteers and everybody that was involved in that. Mr. Stevens, everybody. It was quite a task to kind of put together pretty quickly, and logistically that was no small feat. So I appreciate all those efforts, and that's all.
Yes, thank you. Mrs. Warning.
Yes, I just want to congratulate all our 2020 graduates and wish them the best of luck as they venture out into a new part of their life. And just remember that Gateway is always here for any of your needs. That's all I have.
Thank you. Mr. Ritter.
Sure, a couple things, guys. And at the tail end of this, I'm going to volunteer for two things. So listen closely, and if you would rather be the one to go do it, please let me know. I'd be happy to let you do it. If not, I'll be happy to do it myself. So here are the things. The Pennsylvania School Board Association has created a mandate report that describes the mandates that all school districts must abide by. And it also lists the unfunded and the underfunded mandates. So this is interesting reading. It lists all of the mandates that we must designate our money to. So go out to the PSBA website, take a look at that. Number two, they advocate for us. The PSBA advocacy team goes out and helps develop a legislative platform. They've got the one out there from 2020, that's last year, but they're building next year's legislative platform. And right now is the time that they want to collect input from all the school districts in Pennsylvania to build that legislative platform. So we need to get some input from this board, if any, and submit it before the June 30th deadline. So one of the best things to do would be to go out to the PSBA website, download the last year's legislative platform, take a look at it, see if there's something that you really want the PSBA to press forward for next year. They're going to send out a survey to all the school board members within the next few weeks, and ask you to prioritize that. So if, let's say, there are 20 of them out there, and you really want them to concentrate on items number 3, 7, and 10, say that in the results of the survey so that they know really what to put their best energy towards. Okay, so what we need is a warm body to go out there and present our suggestions to the platform committee in Harrisburg. So we need to designate someone to be on the platform committee. Number 2, once that platform committee finishes its work and has the legislative platform for next year, they will pass it on to the delegate assembly. And so we need a warm body to go out there and vote at the delegate assembly meeting. Now, because of the COVID protocol, this may or may not be in Harrisburg. It could be a virtual meeting. So I'm going to volunteer myself to go out there, and I usually go out there unfunded so that we don't take any money from the school district to send the warm body out there. So I fund myself to go. Now, you know, I'll be happy to do it. If anybody else on the team wants to do it, that's fine too. So I'm going to make a motion to designate me as our platform committee designee and our delegate assembly committee designee as well.
I second that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Okay, thanks, guys. So I'll get in touch with everybody, and I'll try to my best to walk us through this, because it is mind-numbingly difficult to think all these multifaceted, especially with the COVID-19 protocols in place right now, and the special needs for kids being at home and all these other advances that we need to bring to the table. The last time we did this, we brought forth a suggested advancement. It was voted on by the PSBA, and it was voted in favor of by the General Assembly. So there's a lot of tension out there. So thank you very much for your confidence in me. I'll do my level best to represent us, whatever we come up with. So put your thinking caps on and, you know, get ready to roll up your sleeves over the next couple of weeks. That's all I have. Thanks, Mary Beth.
Thank you, Mr. Ritter.
Thank you.
That leaves Mr. Gottman. You have anything exciting for us this evening, Mr. Gottman?
Yes. Real quick, Ms. Warney mentioned how, offering to seniors a gateway is here for your needs, and it actually reminded me of a funny story from college. I believe my senior year, I was taking a Tech 3 writing class, and the teacher's grading was really hard, and we were all, as a class, puzzled in how we're supposed to pass our paper. And the first thing that came to mind was Seeking Help was not the college writing center, but the Gateway High School Writing Center, at the time ran by Miss Stewart. And I called her up, and she said, yes, come right down. And we sat down, we worked on the assignment, and once you know it, got an A. So
great story.
Yeah, it is true. We're here for all your needs. And I've been doing a virtual art session at the end of my report, so I kind of want to continue that theme for this meeting. And tonight's selection comes for our middle school. And the 7th and 8th graders, they learned to use Google Slides as a tool to create digital art in the style of one of our Pittsburgh natives, Burton Morris. So the selections you're going to see are all designed around the digital post-pop art. And our first one here, they're looking at more of the anime style, which is pretty neat there. Get to the next one. Here we have May remembers the classic MTV. We have that design, nice, kind of look at the old 90s theme, which I love. We also have a coffee mug there, using the triangle shapes for their pop. Should have, no, that is it just for our Gateway Middle, and as a preview for next time, Mosside Middle.
Is that it for tonight then, Mr. Gottman?
That is all.
Thank you. Thanks for that wonderful artwork. Hope everybody enjoyed it.
Oh, wait, yeah,
Wait,
real quick,
one
this
more.
is the drawing that was submitted to me last week. I mentioned I was going to try to get it posted bigger so you can see more details, post my little tiny screen. But this is from our student from Ramsey Elementary, our 2nd grader, drawing our wonderful mascot.
That's excellent.
And that ends my report.
Well, thank you. I think Mrs. Warning had a question.
Yeah, I've been having people ask me, any idea when the field at the high school will be open?
I believe you guys were talking about that as of the last board report. It was being discussed on how and when to reopen as we approach the yellow phase, or we're in the yellow phase.
That is correct. We've had internal conversations. I've discussed this with Mr. Brown. Now, we are in a process, and it started this last week, of power washing the tennis courts in that area. Understanding that the track can be used to walk. Once I think we have the area cleaned and ready to go, we should be able to open it up to the public.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good news. I'm sure everyone will be happy to use that again. I just have real briefly, I got to participate in the passing out of caps and gowns today. And it was extra special for me because I was passing out classmates of my son, and some of those kids I met in first grade. So it was a little emotional to be handing them their cap and gown, and I felt really privileged to be able to have that opportunity. And I do want to second what my colleagues all said, thanking the people that organized that, because all we did was pull up, someone loaded our car, gave us a list of addresses. So the people that coordinated that today, kudos to everyone involved. Yeah, I hope that next week we actually, next month, we actually may be meeting in person again too. So not that we don't love this technology, but it will be nice to see everybody in person. But if we do that and we still have to maintain groups of 25 or less, we will absolutely continue to make ways for the public to provide comment and participate. It's very important to all of us. So with that, I guess I would ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Altman, second by Mr. Clary. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we're adjourned. Thank
Thanks,
you,
guys.
everybody.
Good night, everybody.
Great night.